The black sedans behind us didn't just follow, they herded. Rafe swerved down a narrow stretch of road, lined on both sides by skeletal trees whose branches clawed at the car. The forest swallowed the sound of the engine, but not the growl of the tires behind us. They're pushing us east, Rafe said. Let them, Luca replied. My eyes snapped to him. You want this? I want to see who thinks they can take what's mine. The way he said mine made my skin prickle, ownership wrapped in a promise or a threat. I couldn't tell which. The road curved, then widened into a clearing where the trees thinned into nothing. Ahead, an old stone bridge stretched over black water, the kind that didn't reflect light. The first sedan sped ahead, cutting us off at the far end. The second closed in behind. Rafe muttered a curse. Boxed Luca finally looked at me. That's easy for you to say you're not, before I could finish. Small, but heavy enough to weigh down my breath. I don't, you do, he said sharply. Point, don't hesitate. If I tell you to shoot, you shoot. Doors opened in unison. 4 men emerged from the front car, 3 from the rear. Suits, gloves, no masks, meaning they weren't worried about being recognized. One man stepped forward, his smile wide enough to be wrong in this cold air. Romano, he called, voice carrying over the water. We just want to talk. Standing there, Luca said. The man's gaze slid to me. Or maybe she talks for you. My stomach dropped. I felt the weight of all their eyes measuring me, wondering how many ways they could use me to hurt him. Luca opened his door, stepping out slow, like this wasn't a trap, but an invitation. His hands stayed loose at his sides, but I could feel the violence sitting just under his skin. You have 10 seconds, he said. The man's smile grew sharper. I think you'll give me more than that, if you want to see her again. The shift was subtle, but I saw it, the nod to the men at the rear car. One moved toward my side of the vehicle. Luca's voice didn't rise, but it cut through the space like a blade. Touch her, and you die first. The man paused, just for a breath. Then he kept walking. Luca, I started, my grip tightening. On the gun, his eyes locked on mine over the roof of the car. Amelia, out. What now? Every nerve in me screamed not to, but my body obeyed before my mind caught up. My boots hit the gravel, cold air biting my face. Luca moved so that I stood between him and the men. My pulse spiked, realization hitting like eyes. He was using me, making them show their hand. Here I am, he told them. If you want her, you'll have to try in front of me. The leader laughed once, short and ugly. So she's the leverage. No, Luca said, stepping closer. She's the bait. Behind me, Rafe's voice came low through clenched teeth. Boss, I didn't turn, couldn't. Every sound felt sharp, the click of boots on gravel, the distant creak of the bridge in the wind, my own heartbeat drumming against the trigger under my finger. The leader stopped 5 feet away. His smile was gone now, replaced by something harder. Then let's see who bites first. In the next breath, everything broke. A shot split the air. Not from us. The man beside the leader crumpled, blood blooming across his chest. From the tree line behind them, more gunfire erupted. Luca's hand clamped on my shoulder, shoving me down as he drew his gun. Stay behind me. But in the chaos, yelling bullets, the leader shouting orders, I saw something move at the far edge of the bridge, a white dress, waving me forward. War isn't always fought for land or power. Sometimes it's for the one soul both sides believe they own. The clearing dissolved into chaos, gunfire cracking, gravel spraying under boots, shouts tangled with the echo off the water. Luca's hand stayed anchored on my shoulder, his body angled to keep me behind him, each movement precise. Practiced. Rafe fired from the driver's side, dropping one man who'd tried to flank. Another went down screaming near the bridge, and still she stood there, the woman in white dot far beyond the firefight, just at the other end of the stone bridge, framed by the dark water and the fog, her hair lifted in the wind, her arm raised. A wave, but a beckon. I felt it in my chest before I felt it in my feet move. It wasn't just her voice this time. It was inside me, like a memory I didn't remember, whispering that safety was in her shadow, not Luca's. Stay with me. Luca's voice snapped me back, sharp and commanding. I froze, caught between his grip and her silent pull. She mouthed something across the distance. Luca stepped forward, shooting twice without hesitation. The body hit the ground hard enough to shake the gravel under my boots. His head turned just enough to catch my eyes. Don't you dare run. Another burst of gunfire drew his attention away. That was the space she needed. Her hand lifted again, palm open, like the one she'd shown me in the garden that night. The fog behind her seemed to deepen, curl around her like it belonged to her. Come now, before it's too late. The words weren't spoken, but I felt them, sure as breath. I glanced at Lucafian reloading, ordering Rafe to push left. His focus was on the men, not me. One step back, then another. A shout ripped through the air, not hers. His, Amelia. It cracked like a whip. Even through the noise, it found me. Wrapped around my spine, but I'd already stepped toward the bridge. The woman smiled, not soft, not kind, but satisfied. She turned, walking slowly into the fog. I followed. Halfway across, the gunfire dulled, replaced by the hollow echo of my steps on stone. The mist thickened, swallowing the far shore until there was only her dress ahead of me, white and bright against the gray. I should have been cold, but warmth pressed against my skin now like the air inside the old house, heavy with breath that wasn't mine. Why are you doing this? I called. Her voice came back, close though she was still ahead. Because you deserve the truth he'll never give you. On the far end of the bridge, she stopped, turning to face me fully. The fog around her shifted like it was waiting for her permission. Come with me, she said. Leave him before he decides which part of you he needs most. I took one more step. The stones beneath my feet felt older here, worn by more than water than hands. Two of them, gripping my arms from behind. Luca's voice was in my ear, low and furious. I told you, don't run from me. The woman's expression didn't falter. She just tilted her head, looking past me to him. Hello, Luca, she said, and her smile turned sharp. You've brought her this far. The rest is mine. Some wars aren't fought for territory. They're fought for ownership of a single heartbeat. Luca's grip on my arms was a moving, unyielding. The woman in white didn't flinch under it. She simply looked at him with the kind of calm that makes a room feel smaller. Isolda, Luca said, his voice measured, almost quiet. You remember my name, she replied, smiling like it was a victory. Your father tried to forget it. It didn't work for him either. The fog curled around her, rising and falling like it breathed with her. The bridge felt too narrow now, the water below whispering for someone to fall in. You shouldn't be here, Luca said. She tilted her head toward me. I should be exactly here. She should be exactly here. I felt his grip tighten, not painful, but heavy enough to remind me I wasn't the one deciding whether I stayed. She doesn't belong to you, Isolda said. She's mine by vow, Luca replied. And you think that means you can keep her, protect her? Isolda's smile was slow, deliberate. The same vow was made to me once. Look how that ended. Something sharp flickered across Luca's face, gone in a second. But real. This isn't the same, he said. It's exactly the same. She whispered. Her eyes slid to me, holding me there. Do you know what a vow costs, Amelia? I swallowed. He says it's protection. She laughed softly. It's possession. You're not promised safety. You're promised use. Enough, Luca said, his voice cutting through the fog, but she ignored him. Your mother knew. She tried to warn you, even after she was gone. She wrote you, didn't she? Did you get her letter? My chest tightened. You know about I know, because I put it there, she said simply. Luca's hand shifted, pulling me slightly behind him. You don't get to touch her. She's already touched, Isolde said, and her voice turned low, almost cruel. By the same bloodline that took your father from you, by the same oath that trapped your mother. She's already marked Luca. You can't unmark her. The air between them felt dangerous, like the moment before lightning touches ground. This ends now, he said. She smiled again. No, Luca. This is where it begins. From the fog beyond her movement, a figure stepping into view. A man, tall, with features I didn't recognize, but eyes that felt like I'd seen them in a photograph. Once, long ago, Isolde reached for his hand. Shall we? The man's gaze was on me when he spoke. Your father sends his regards. My stomach dropped. My father, Luca's arm locked across my chest, pulling me back. Don't listen, but the man's voice was already inside me, just like hers had been. We'll tell you what he won't. The fog surged forward like a wave. The bridge shook under us, and then gunfire. From the far end, Rafe's voice shouting, Boss! Isolde's smile didn't fade. She and the man stepped backward into the mist, and in 2 heartbeats, they were gone. Luca turned me toward the shore, half dragging, half guiding me back to solid ground as more shots cracked behind us. They're working with my father. I gasped. His jaw clenched. They're working for themselves. Then why? Because he said, his voice low enough to shake in my bones, they think they can break my vow. Some debts are paid in blood, others are paid in years you never get to live. Rafe's car was waiting where the forest road met the main highway. Engine idling, door open, like it had been ready for us before we even left. We climbed in fast, Luca, shoving me into the back seat before sliding in beside me. His eyes stayed on the tree line as Rafe pulled away. Every muscle in him wound tight. I couldn't keep it in. Tell me, not now, he said. No. My voice came sharper than I meant, but the taste of the fog and her voice was still in my lungs. You keep saying later. You keep saying I'll understand. I don't. All I know is she looks at me like she already owns me, and you, my breath hitched. You look at me like you're trying to decide if you can keep me. Silence. Rafe didn't glance back, but his hands tightened slightly on the wheel. Finally, Luca spoke. My vow to you isn't just a promise, he said slowly. It's a binding. The same way my father bound himself to a Talda, but mine was made differently. How differently? His gaze met mine, steady and unblinking. If you die, I die. The air in the car seemed to thicken. That's my throat closed. That's not possible. It is when the vow is written in blood, he said, and not just mine. What do you mean? He didn't look away. It's written in yours. The words landed like a blade in my chest. When? Your father came to me, Luca said. He didn't offer money to settle his debts. He offered you. And when I refused, he offered something else. Use your blood. A binding made when you were too young to know it was happening. I shook my head. No, I would remember. You wouldn't. You were a child. He told you it was just a cut to heal a game between families. You trusted him. Flashes hit. Meekwick, broken images, my father's hand holding mine steady. A small knife, my mother's voice raised in another room. The sting, the smell of iron, and then nothing. Why? My voice was a whisper now. To keep you alive, Luca said, and to keep me from killing him. The pieces didn't fit, but they cut anyway. So that's it. I'm just your insurance policy? His voice dropped low, dangerous in a way that wasn't aimed at me. You're the only thing keeping me alive, and the only thing I can't afford to lose. I wanted to push him away, but part of me froze under the weight of those words. The car's hum filled the silence, the forest thinning into city lights. Far ahead, then what happens if Isolde breaks it? I asked. Luca's jaw tightened. She won't, but if she does, his eyes held mine, cold and absolute. Then we both die, and she takes what's left. Rafe's voice cut through from the front seat, grim and certain. Boss, she's not going to stop coming for her. I know, Luca said. I swallowed, my chest aching. And what if I don't want to be part of this vow? His hand shifted. Fingers brushing mine, not tender, but claiming. Then you'd better start wanting it. Because the moment you walk away from me, you walk into her. The streetlights ahead flickered one by one, as if the city itself was warning us, and somewhere deep in the dark, I swore I heard her voice again, closer this time. Soon, Leah, sooner than he thinks. Power isn't just taken with bullets. Sometimes it's stolen with a smile in a room full of witnesses. By the time we reached the Romano estate, the city had shed its night skin and put on the thin light of early morning. I barely had time to change before Bianca was at my door, her knuckles tapping twice before she let herself in. Dinner tonight, she said, as if it were a weather report. The heads of all 5 families will be there. You will be on his right. I didn't have to ask who his was. Bianca laid a dress across the bed-deep crimson silk, low at the back, high at the throat. The kind of thing that made you look untouchable while showing just enough to keep knives hidden in the fabric. As she fastened the high collar around my neck, she said, "When the men toast, you will toast. When they speak, you will listen. And if anyone speaks to you who is not the boss, you will answer in a way that costs them more than it costs you." By evening, the dining hall glowed under chandelier light. The table stretched nearly the length of the room, crystal and silver, gleaming like weapons in disguise. The 5 family heads were already seated when we arrived. Luca didn't slow when we entered. He never did. His presence rolled ahead of him like a shadow you couldn't outwalk. I followed, heels clicking softly. Against marble, aware of every eye on me. We sat, wine poured. Conversation swelled and ebbed, the undercurrent always sharp, across the table. Don Vitali of the Vitali family leaned forward, his heavy ring catching the light. "Romano," he said, "I hear you've made your bride indispensable." The word carried weight I didn't like. Luca didn't look up from his glass. "You hear too much." A ripple of amusement passed around the table. Another Dona lean man with fox-sharp features smiled at me. "And does the bride speak for herself?" Luca's hand tapped twice on the table under the cloth. I remembered the signal. I smiled, just enough, only when there's something worth saying. That earned a few chuckles, but Vitalius' eyes lingered on me like he was measuring my worth in currency. The first course arrived. Crystal clinked, forks scraped. Then the doors opened. A hush fell. She walked in like the room had been built for her. Isolde, not in white this time, but in black, that shimmered faintly under the lights, her hair loose around her shoulders. No one moved to stop her, not the guards by the door, not the men at the table. Luca's gaze locked on her, every inch of him gone still. "Forgive my intrusion," she said, voice warm, carrying easily to the far end of the table. I thought, it was time I met the girl. Every eye in the room turned to me. Luca rose slowly from his seat. "You weren't invited." She smiled, ignoring him, her gaze sliding to me. "And yet, here I am." Vitali leaned back, interested. "A friend of the family, Romano." "No," Luca said flatly. Isolda's lips curved. "I'm family enough." She stepped closer, circling the table like a predator, choosing where to bite. "I've brought something for the bride," she said, reaching into a small black velvet pouch. From it, she drew a thin silver chain with a charm shaped like a key. She set it on the table in front of me. "For when you're ready to open the door, he's keeping locked." The room held its breath. Luca's hand closed over mine under the table, gripped tight, almost bruising. "Don't touch it," he said, low enough for only me to hear. Isolda tilted her head. "She already has the blood, Luca. Let her have the choice." Vitali chuckled darkly. "Well, this just became interesting." Around the table, the other dons exchanged looks, the kind that turned dinner into negotiations. I looked at the key, then at her, then at Luca. And for the first time since meeting either of them, I realized no matter what I chose here, it would be a declaration of war. Some choices aren't made with words. They're made with what you dare to touch. The key lay in front of me, gleaming under the chandelier, small, harmless looking, but it felt like the air in the room bent around it. Isolda's smile was steady, patient. "It's yours, Leah." Luca's hand stayed locked over mine beneath the table, a warning written in pressure around us. The dons waited, some amused, some calculating. Vitali leaned back like he was watching a card game he'd already bet on. No one here was neutral. I could hear my own pulse. Could feel both of them, their eyes on me like hooks pulling in opposite directions. If I touched it, I would be telling the whole room I didn't belong solely to him. If I didn't, I'd be telling her I was already his. Either way, someone would bleed for it. I reached forward. Luca's grip tightened, but I kept going. My fingers brushed the silver charm, cool against my skin. I didn't pick it up, just moved it, slowly, sliding it back across the polished wood until it stopped in front of Isolda. "I don't open doors I haven't knocked on first," I said, my voice even. A small smile tugged at the corner of her mouth, more approval than disappointment. "Clever," she murmured. "Your mother was too." Luca released my hand under the table. Vitali chuckled. "Looks like she takes after neither of you, Romano." A few others joined the laughter. But the air had shifted, more tense, more dangerous. I'd given no one a win they could use. That made them want one even more. Isolda picked up the key, twirling it once between her fingers. "You'll want it eventually," she said softly, "and when you do, I'll be waiting." She didn't look at Luca again. She didn't need to. As she turned to leave, she brushed a hand lightly across the back of my chair. The touch was nothing in, yet it lingered like a chill down my spine. She paused at the doors, glancing over her shoulder. "Enjoy your dinner." Then she was gone. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Don Bianchi, a broad man with pale eyes, said, "If your father's ghost isn't already restless, Romano, it will be after that." Luca ignored him. He poured himself more wine, then filled my glass without asking if I wanted it. "Drink," he said quietly. The rest of the meal passed like a negotiation conducted in loaded glances. I barely tasted the food, my thoughts circling the silver key and the way Isolda had said your mother was to. Later, when the last guest had gone and the table stood empty, I turned to Luca. She knew her. She knew my mother. His eyes found mine, dark and unreadable. She knew everyone worth knowing. That doesn't mean she told the truth, but it might. It won't help you to believe her. I hesitated, then asked, "Why didn't you stop her from coming here?" His jaw flexed, "Because if I tried and failed, she'd own the room. If I let her in and kept control, she leaves owing me." "You think you still have control?" His gaze held me. "I have you." And for the first time, I didn't know if that was a promise or a threat. Some promises are locked away not to keep them safe, but to keep them from escaping. That night, Luca didn't take me to my room. He took me down, past the marble halls, past the servants' quarters, down a narrow stone staircase I hadn't seen before. The air grew colder with each step, heavy with the scent of metal and earth. At the base was a steel door, wide and seamless, no visible lock. He pressed his hand to a panel I hadn't noticed. There was a faint click, then the sound of gears turning deep inside. The door swung open. Inside, the vault wasn't filled with gold or cash. It was filled with relics, weapons older than the city, shelves lined with books bound in leather so worn the lettering had faded, jars of something dark and thick, sealed in glass at the center. A single pedestal, on it lay a thin, black-bound book with my name engraved across the cover in silver, Amelia Rousseau Romano. I took a step forward. "What is that?" "Our vow," Luca said. I looked over my shoulder. "Written down, bound," he corrected in blood. "Yours and mine." I didn't touch it, but the air around it felt like it was breathing. "What happens if it's destroyed?" I asked. His eyes stayed on mine. "Then everything tied to it ends, including us." The thought landed heavier than I expected. He moved closer, his voice lower. "That's why Isolde wants it. With the binding gone, she can take you without dying herself, and she will." "Why me?" I asked again. Softer this time, "Because she wants what I swore never to give her," he said. "And what's that?" His gaze didn't waver. "Everything." Before I could speak, the vault lights flickered, then went out in the dark. The air shifted cold, sharp. A whisper brushed my ear. "It's mine." Luca's arm went around me instantly, pulling me back just as something heavy hit the pedestal, the sound of leather tearing. When the emergency lights kicked in, the book was gone. When someone steals the thing keeping you alive, you don't negotiate. "You hunt." "She was here," I whispered. Luca's jaw was tight, but his voice was steady. "No, not her man." He strode to the door, Rafe already there, gun drawn. "Seal the estate," Luca ordered. "No one in, no one out." Rafe was gone in seconds. I stared at the empty pedestal. My name had been there. Now it wasn't. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now," he said, "we make sure she doesn't finish what she started."